Hey everyone, are you ready to rock your teaching? If you can, let me know that you're here because I know half of you guys are out watching The Bachelor and I got it taping downstairs and I'm going to watch it afterwards. But if you are here, let me know you're here just so I can see where we're all coming from and what we're doing. But this session is on differentiating. If you're looking for ways to differentiate your instruction, I'm going to go through some great ideas for you because I'm very passionate about differentiating, especially with Rockin' Resources. Almost all of our resources cover motivation, education, and differentiation. So 2 weeks ago, I talked about motivation. Now we're going to talk about differentiating. For those who don't know me, I'm Pam from Rockin' Resources, and I was a classroom teacher for 26 years. And now I create materials for teachers, and I'm a writing coach. And I do have my assistant over to the side. Someday I will get her on camera, but she is over there. And if you guys have any questions along the way, she's going to answer them. And if it's something that she can't answer, I will definitely answer it. But I have a hard time going through and seeing what everybody's saying when I'm trying to get my point across. So I'm going to just let that slide, but I promise you I will answer everybody's questions towards the end. All right, so to get started, I always like to give you guys a quote. And this quote goes along with differentiating. Every student can learn, just not on the same day and not in the same way. And you guys know that. You know that your classroom, you have kids that will be on target one day and then the next day they're just not on target. And they might need some different instruction. So that's what we're going to cover today. Since I have so much to say about differentiating, I'm actually going to break this up into 2 sessions, one today and one again in 2 weeks. Today's session, I'm going to cover prior to teaching the lesson. So I came up with this little format. Let's see if I could get that on the computer. There we go. I came up with this little format to help get all the instruction organized. And prior to teaching is step 1. I put them in 3 steps. So step 1 is prior to teaching. Step 2 is designing the lesson. And then step 3 are ideas for you during the lesson. So we're going to cover step 1 today. We're going to cover instructional levels, learning styles, and classroom setup. If you don't know Carol Ann Tomlinson, she is a leader in differentiating, and she supports all the planning parts of differentiating. And one of the main things that I suggest at the beginning is to get to know your students. Group them, find different ways to get to know them. And one of the ways is through instructional levels. Find out their reading level. Whether you use a Fontes and Pinnell, or you use your DRA, or reading A through Z, you want to get to know their reading level at the very beginning. And then that way you can use that throughout your instruction. Another way is through depths of knowledge or Bloom's taxonomy. And what I do is I either take whichever one your district uses. I take that and I put it in a chart, and in the chart I list all the names on where the kids are. What are your children on the remember stage, on the understanding stage, the application stage? Whatever stage that they're in, you want to group them and have that listed so that whenever it's time for individual lessons, you'll have that already. This one shows the depth of knowledge for student groups. So you have your different depths of knowledge, and you just take a look at your kids and see where they're at. How are they working for you? And you put them in the different groups, and you can use that whenever you're planning your lessons. All right, another idea for the instructional levels is not just with reading levels and depth of knowledge, but it's also with their knowledge. Take the topic, for example. Are they very knowledgeable about that topic? Are you learning about the Revolutionary War and you have some history buffs in your class and they're very excited about the Revolutionary War, or are there some people that are not interested or have never learned anything about the Revolutionary War? So it's great to do a little interest survey to help them, and you can also group the kids that way. You could do an interest survey, you could do a pre-test or something just to see what they know on the topic, and then you can go from there and see what kind of instruction they might need in your groups. All right, moving right along, we have learning styles. Next up is learning styles. And there is so much research out there to support the different learning styles and the things that you can do with the students to help them. And one of them is visual. We have visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. So visual students, you want to make sure that you are providing what they need to learn visually. So you're going to have a lot of things on your board. You're going to have maps and diagrams and flip charts. And they like to have face-to-face stuff. And even they look at your facial expressions. And they also like to sit in front of the room. They might be good note takers. And then you have your auditory learners. And your auditory learners, they want to listen. They want to be involved in discussions. They want to listen to the lecture. They like to work in groups. They like to listen to other people and really understand the concepts that way. A great idea for these learners is read-alouds. Read-alouds are so important in the upper elementary classrooms because the kids can still grasp the story, get all of the information that they need, learn the different skills, and they're hearing all of those wonderful words that come across in read-alouds. And audio books too. If you are working on a big chapter book and your students are struggling because it's not quite their reading level, then you want to give them the audio book version of it because they're still listening and getting the gist of the story, but they're listening to it. And then you have kinesthetic. And these are physically active little ones in your classroom. You want to make sure that they have things to touch or things to do, that they can move around your classroom. That is very important because they want to be involved in what you're doing. So that's learning styles. And I have charts for everything just because I like to really take a look at where they are. And that'll really help with your planning in the future. So whenever you get your planning done, you can go, whatever topic you're teaching, whatever subject you're teaching, you can go through all your charts and see, okay, what can I do for this group of students? Or what can I do for this group of students? Or this little guy needs this. And all of these charts will give you all that information and help you with ideas to help them to differentiate your instruction and help them learn to the best of their ability. The last thing I want to talk about is your classroom setup. And all of these ideas are done prior to even getting started in your lesson. So your classroom setup, you want to make sure that you have groups set up, you want to have centers set up, you want to have some flexible seating, and you also want to have that quiet little spot in your classroom where your kids the kids who do not like to work in groups, they can go to that quiet little spot and work by themselves. And that is truly, truly important for differentiating. So, I hope you got some ideas. I know I ran through it real quick, but I am going to actually do a blog post on differentiating where I'm going to put up all of these ideas as well. And you can grab them from there. Next week, I'm going to take this a little bit further and talk about how to implement it into your planning. If we go back to that chart that I was talking about, we have prior to teaching. So next I'm going to actually talk about both of these at the next session. And we're going to talk about designing the lesson, So you'll have what you're going to do during your presentation and what you're going to do during your when you're giving the assignment, and then also ideas for progress monitoring. Okay, I think that's it. So I hope that you come to rockandresources.com and sign up for our newsletter, because we send out stuff like this all the time. And these charts, if you're interested in the charts will be sent out to our subscribers. Probably at the next blog post that'll go out, because they're not quite done the way I want them yet, so they will come out soon. My plan is to be on Facebook every 2 weeks. So the next one will be in 2 weeks on Tuesday, and I usually do it at 8:30. And most of my strategies, or all of my strategies, are based on motivate, educate, differentiate. So we're going to continue with differentiation, and then we'll move from there. All right, so I hope you got some great ideas, and you go rock your teaching. I'm going to go ahead and check out some of the Facebook stuff, if I could figure it all out. And I'll make sure that I get back to everybody. Have a great night, everyone.